Welcome. My name is Fowler Black with the Paducah Visitors Bureau, and this is Creative Conversations, an in-depth look at tourism in Paducah, a reboot of tourism talk. Today on the show, we have Lexie Millikan with the Yeiser Art Center and my colleague, Liz Hammonds from the Paducah Visitors Bureau. Today we're diving into what it means to be a UNESCO Creative City. Some of you may have heard of UNESCO, some of you may have not. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary as a UNESCO Creative City here in Paducah. And UNESCO, of course, many of you might have heard of World Heritage Sites across the world. That is a UNESCO network. Paducah is in one of the other networks of UNESCO called the Creative Cities. And we were the third in America. Santa Fe, New Mexico, Iowa City, Paducah, Kentucky, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Tucson, Arizona, Seattle, Washington, Kansas City, and Detroit, Michigan. So Paducah is very much the smallest sibling on stage. And so we are proud of this designation because it's a portal that allows us to get name recognition and perhaps some earned media, as Liz Hammonds, our marketing director, would like to call it. But also it is an opportunity for Paducah partners in tourism to help manifest the element of what it means to be a UNESCO Creative City. And we have one partner on today, Lexie Millikan with the Yeiser Art Center. And Yeiser is the oldest nonprofit arts organization in Paducah. And this is tied to our built landscape as well, in the fact that you have been, your organization has been in the Market House on the Broadway side for what, almost 60 years? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, thank you, Fowler. I'm really happy to be here to talk to you today about our connection to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. We have been in the Market House building since 1963, and we have been an arts organization in Paducah since 1957. We were started by Mary Yeiser.
That's great. So right now, if we were to walk into the Yeiser Art Center, you've got this exhibit called the Creative City Collaborations. Part of the UNESCO mission is to collaborate, right? So this is right on point with the brand of being a UNESCO Creative City. Can you tell us more about the exhibit?
Yes, we wanted to highlight some of the exchanges, collaborations, partnerships that we've had through the UNESCO Creative Cities Network over the last 10 years, since this is Paducah's 10-year anniversary of that UNESCO Creative Cities designation. So we have artwork by local artists, artwork that was made in collaboration with people from other creative cities. We have documentation of some of our creative cities activities, like the trip to San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas, Mexico, for their festival there, and also the Jinju World Folk Arts Biennale when we traveled there with a group of musicians.
Awesome. And you have taken some trips to these other cities that are outside of the United States who are also UNESCO Creative Cities and have shared commonalities and have also learned certain ways, innovations through art. Can you tell us some of your latest experiences? I know you just got back from Spain, and Liz happened to be on that trip with you.
Yeah.
Are there any highlights from that trip that you could share with us?
Well, it was a really fantastic trip. We were able to go to Manisa, Spain for the Festa de la Ceramica, which is a ceramics festival. And we had a group of 6 of us that went, a couple of artists, of course, Liz representing the Visitors Bureau, and we were able to set up a Paducah booth at the festival. So we gave out information about Paducah. We talked to people about the UNESCO Creative City network, and then we also did some hands-on activities. So we were able to do some quilting activities that the CVB helped us with. They gave us some supplies for that, and that was a really fun activity. People really loved that.
So that was, Liz, a great example of collaboration, bringing what we are known for to another UNESCO Creative City halfway across the world.
Yeah.
What did you learn in your experience visiting that
Um,
creative city?
so much. We got to be with the people there and teach them about like quilting and hand stitching. And so we had these little hoops that had pre-made quilt squares in them. And I had some Spanish from college, but I hadn't used it in a really long time. So I was doing my best to like teach people how to sew using the very limited Spanish I had. So I'm like arriba y abajo, which is up and down. But we were teaching kids, we were teaching families, and some of the ladies like who were already hand stitchers would come up and like show off their like really great stitching skills. But you know, I had always known, like from a brand standpoint, how important the UNESCO Creative Cities Network was to Paducah, but I hadn't actually experienced it in a way that like took me somewhere else. And so once I did that, like it became so much more than just an accolade. Like meeting the people that we were able to work with and finding out their ideas about creativity and what they're doing and how passionate they are, and that was just really special. Like unlocking that door to work with other creatives, I think, is just an incredible opportunity that Paducah has.
Absolutely. For Paducans to better understand what a creative city is, I think that your exhibit is a way to manifest that. So perhaps, I don't know if you've brought anything back from Spain that is in this exhibit, but certainly from maybe previous relationships, previous trips you've taken to other creative cities. Can you show us any samples of the kind of work that will be on display?
Yeah, we actually have a ceramic piece from an artist named Arturo Bonavent, who presented his work to, well, it was a gift from the city of Meneses that was presented to us when we were there. And he's known for his gold luster work on his ceramics. And we have some ceramics actually in the exhibition from local artist Mitch Kimball. And he was able to go to Spain with us as well. He was part of a wheel throwing competition while we were there. But we have we have actually a few pieces of Mitch's in the show right now that are either made in collaboration with some of the other creative cities, or that were inspired by some of his experiences with other creative cities. So we have a really lovely picture of his that is inspired by the work that he did with the creative city of Jindazhen, China.
Yes, and Mitch has been involved in multiple trips as well, as a representative of Paducah. J.D. Wilkes has also done that in various capacities. Went to Ireland, I believe. For you, Lexie, how did you first get involved with the UNESCO Creative Cities Network? What was your first experience?
My first experience was the trip to San Cristobal de las Casas in Chiapas, Mexico. Mary Hammond mentioned that there would be a group of people going, and she would like for me to represent the textile arts of our region. So I am also an artist, along with being the executive director at Yeiser Art Center, and my background is in textiles. So I created about 250 indigo dyed shibori napkins to be a part of a dinner that Sarah Bradley was doing, Sarah from the Freight House, of course, as part of the festival in Chiapas. So we had a group of people there that helped put on this dinner. We had a Paducah booth at their festival, and we had musicians there that played. So the Wheelhouse Rousters and the Solid Rocket Boosters were there. And Sarah worked with a local chef and created this collaborative dinner. So it was, some traditional Kentucky food, but made with traditional Chiapan ingredients.
Exactly.
So it was a really great collaboration.
And representations of place, right? UNESCO Creative Cities, really part of the mission is also to sustain identity. And that might be through food, it might be through art, it might be through something else. In your experience representing Paducah in another country, how were you received representing UNESCO through the art medium?
Everywhere that I've been able to travel through the UNESCO Creative Cities network has been very, very receptive, very kind, very welcoming, really excited to learn about our region, what we do, our art, our food, our music. And, it's led to a lot of ongoing connections. So we have, of course, musicians that we were able to bring here for the Lowertown Arts and Music Festival. We have a lot of other projects in the works with other people we've met from other countries. So when we were in Spain for the festival just recently, we connected with Kütahya, Turkey, another creative city of crafts and folk art, and we actually have a couple of pieces from Turkey in the exhibition. So I brought a piece today by an artist named Canan Gunnis, and she is a professor of ceramics there. And we're, still connected and talking to them about some different ways that we can collaborate together in the future.
Awesome.
I think what's so to me like the key to all of this is we're talking right about an artist that we met, which Jonan, and how she is a ceramics maker and she's professor, but like she's also our friend, which is so neat because I have memories of having paella with her in Valencia, and that's just something so special because beyond the abstract, like it becomes real, So Paducah has this real connection with real people, and it's special for our small town. And I think something else that's really unique, and you kind of alluded to this, both of you kind of did, is that yes, we are a city of crafts and folk art, which started out with the quilting and the textiles, but we have also represented Paducah with musicians, with other, with food, with culinary, and so through the different types of UNESCO Creative Cities, I would say Paducah checks every single one of those, and so it's varied. I think everybody in Paducah has that creative side to them.
It's great that creativity is an enormous concept, and that allows us to again connect with an unlimited amount of places in the world. In your experience, Liz and Lexie, what's the greatest benefit of being associated with the UNESCO Creative Cities?
Well, I mean, I think there are a lot of benefits. So it puts Paducah on an international stage in a way that I don't know that we would have access to without this network. So, it's contributing to tourism here. A lot of people travel to UNESCO Creative Cities, so it's bringing in tourism, but it's also, it's diversifying our culture here. So when we can have exhibitions like the one we have at Yeiser Art Center, when we can collaborate with other artists and musicians, we're bringing an experience here, or we're bringing art, or we're exposing people to something that they might not otherwise be able to learn about, and then seeing how that fits with, the creative things that are already happening here. So I think it makes the community stronger, healthier, more diverse. It really just adds a special thing to the culture here in Paducah and the surrounding region and the state.
Sure, and I know, as we have talked about UNESCO amongst the community here in Paducah, many people ask the question, well, what is the impact of UNESCO on Paducah, even economically? Liz, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so beyond, sustaining our culture, which is probably, the most important part of this, right? But beyond that, from a marketing and a media standpoint, we get attention in Paducah because of that designation that we otherwise wouldn't get. And so one example I like to give is that this past spring of 2023, we were in Southern Living, and we had a 6-page spread in Southern Living. And that all started because of our connection to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. They covered us as a city that sort of stood out from the other similar river towns. And then that coverage was free. That's what we call earned media, right? So they did that for free. We did not pay a cent for that. And I looked up just so for this conversation what it actually would cost to do a full page ad in Southern Living, and it's over $30,000 for one page. So if you just do the math there, the kind of coverage that we're getting, and that brings people to Paducah. They stay in our hotels, they eat at our local restaurants, they buy gas here, they do all these things that support our economy on just a real basis, which, we often wonder, what are the real numbers there, right? And Paducah even just recently found out some really good data. We participated with the Americans for the Arts. We did a survey called the Arts and Economic Prosperity Survey. And we found out that the nonprofit arts sector generated over $30 million in economic development and economic impact here in Paducah in the year of 2022. So, it has a lot to do with sustaining the arts and culture and letting people enjoy the arts, but it also has real concrete, like monetary impact on our community.
For those Paducans who may be watching, and perhaps some of those Paducans have seen the banners along Broadway that say 10th anniversary of UNESCO Creative Cities, what can members of our own community do to engage in this creative city brand, to find their own creativity or develop something that doesn't have to be as we covered earlier, creativity is an enormous subject, but how do you think that we can reinvigorate and engage folks in the UNESCO Creative City brand?
Well, we're lucky to have so many arts organizations in our community that have a lot of different kinds of programming. So everything from the shows at the Karst Center to Maiden Alley Cinema to Paducah School of Art and Design having community education classes. It just goes on and on. There's so many organizations that some have free classes, events, programming. I think getting involved in those organizations is really the key to that, to know what is happening here in Paducah. There's always, of course, at Yeiser Art Center, we're always looking for volunteers and new members and people to participate in our exhibitions. So there are lots of different kinds of opportunities. I think just starting with those arts organizations is a good place to start.
Yeah, I would second that for sure. And then, I think for a lot of people, I myself don't necessarily identify as an artist because especially visual art, because I can draw a stick figure, Lexie, but that's as good as I can do. But I have taken those community classes. I learned how to I learned how to make pots on the pottery wheel with Mitch, and that was really fun. But I also want to encourage people to just find their own creative energy, whether that's art or not. It could be, if you work in the medical field, using your creative thinking skills to come up to solve a problem, right? Or if you're, if you're a hairdresser, being creative in that art that you provide. It's all there in whatever you do, and creativity doesn't have to be limited to painting a painting or making a quilt. So I think we all have that creative spark in us, and I think we can all really hone in on that and be proud to be part of that creative city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Not everyone is an artist or wants to be an artist, and that's okay, because you can also be a supporter of the arts. You can enjoy that entertainment through the films at Maiden Alley Cinema and some of those other places where you can you're a supporter, you're supporting the arts.
And that all feeds back into the aim and objective of the UNESCO Creative Cities, I believe, and that is creating, again, a sense of place, placefulness, identity. And that comes through, obviously, unique experiences, but also highlighting opportunities, activation, engagement in various ways with the community, whether it's in the medical field, whether it's in music or in art. And I hope that everyone who is watching will continue to celebrate our 10th anniversary of the designation. Lexie, thank you for joining us. Yeiser Art Center is definitely a cornerstone of creativity. and a partner that really embodies this strand of creativity and resourcefulness, and continues to give a piece of quality of life to Paducah here in its 60th plus year. So we hope that you join us for our next creative conversation, and we will introduce you to another partner who embodies the UNESCO Creative City brand. We'll see you then.